Welcome to How Now, the podcast where we talk about how to live in the now. And here's your host, Kim Martin Raymond.
Peace and blessings, love and light, and welcome to this edition of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. I'm your host, Kim Martin Raymond. I'm a minister, spiritual life coach, holistic nutritionist, author, and founder of Redefining You, LLC, where I help my clients to realign themselves, mind, body, and spirit. And again, Happy New Year, and welcome to season 6 of the How Now podcast. We have been going strong for 6 years. It's been an exciting time. I took a little hiatus again at the end of last year, and now we are officially back and going strong here in 2026. And so if this is your first time joining us, welcome to the How Now family. We're glad to have you here. We've got a lot of things going on, a lot of unpacking that we're going to be doing during the course of this year, and we want you to be a part of that. So make sure that you go to my website, and that is www.hownowpodcast.com. Be sure to click on your favorite podcast platform and be sure to like, follow, share, and subscribe. You can also scroll to the bottom of the page and it'll take you to the How Now. It'll take you to the How Now YouTube channel. Once you click on that banner for this week's show, it'll take you to the How Now YouTube channel where you can like, follow, share, and subscribe as well. You can also check out some of my playlists, like my Tuesday, where I share a scripture verse. Or you can check out some of the shows that you may have missed over the last 5 seasons. And you can also check out the 365-day challenge that just ended at the end of last year. So again, that's www.hownowpodcast.com. Make sure that you like, follow, share, and subscribe. Okay, so let's get into today's show. Okay, one thing that I want to talk about is the things that we're going to be covering over the course of this year. We talked about the 365-day challenge, and in that challenge, we challenge people to create healthy habits, okay? Mind, body, and spirit, okay? And one of the things that we are going to be focusing on during the course of this year is execution. We've developed some tools, we've developed some strategies, we've developed some healthy habits, and now this is a year of execution where we're going to go ahead and take those things that we've learned and put them into action. Okay, and so we're going to be focusing on different aspects of overall wellness, and one of them that we're going to be talking about over the next 12 months is going to be financial fitness. Okay, and to join me is my guest, who was a former guest on the show. She's no stranger to the How Now podcast, but she is going to be joining us throughout the year talking about financial fitness. And I've just brought her on stage, and as is customary with the How Now podcast, I'm going to have her introduce herself at this time. Hey, Leah.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kim, and thank you so much to the How Now audience. We love you. We appreciate you so much. My name is Leah Garcia, and I'm actually the Dynasty Builder. But I didn't start here. I actually grew up on the east side of San Jose on food stamps and welfare. If you don't know the area, kind of the wrong side of the tracks, right? Surrounded by gangs, drugs, poverty. But even as a little girl, I was 6 years old. I always wanted something better. We would go into other neighborhoods that they had shiny cars and green grass and pretty houses. And I would always ask my parents, like, how do we get that? Why don't we live there? Right. And I had heard this commercial, and the announcer said, if you spray Windex on your windows, your whole world will sparkle. And I believe that. I was 6 years old, and I begged my mom for Windex. She tried to give me the generic. Listen, we were not poor. We didn't even have the R, right? We were like no money. Right. She gave me that Windex, and I'm telling you, that Windex was like a gold gem to me. Mm-hmm. And I would spray it on those little panes. And I'm sure as a 6-year-old, I probably was mucking it all up. But in my mind, I was sparkling up and shining up my life.
Yes.
And absolutely. So for me, I feel like I have an advantage that I've come from nothing. I know what it's like to go from to have nothing and to go without. So when I talk to my clients, I feel like I can meet them where they are, right? If they're starting out and they're just getting the little training wheels on, I can absolutely help you. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you so much, Miss Kim.
Yes, yes. Like I said, I'm so excited to have you here. You talked about the wall of wealth the last time you were here on the show. And, I just thought that it was so important for us to, be able to understand, like you said, where we're at in order to know where we're going. And a big part of overall wellness is being able to be in a good financial space, because that's going to create opportunities for you to do things. And sometimes there are things that we want to do and we're limited by our finances. But we may want to eat healthier, and we may say, oh well, I can't afford to buy non-processed food. It's too costly. There are certain things that go on that keep us from being able to do things. So I think that it's so important that we touch on financial fitness, and that we understand the importance of knowing where we are financially, so that way we can be in a better position to make informed decisions, and not make decisions based on cost over overall wellness. That's something that's key.
Absolutely. That is so key. And I heard this quote, I believe it's from AA program, but it says, all progress starts by telling the truth. And so we have to tell the truth with our finances. Listen, you brought me here. You know me, Miss Kim. There's no rainbows and puppy dogs here. Right. I'm going to bring you the gloves off, pull back the curtain. I'm going to tell you the real deal. We must track our money. What we track will grow and expand. And it's difficult to do that. I don't like the word budgets. I think the word budget is punitive. I think it makes us feel like we're being punished. Right. It feels like somebody else is telling us what we can do with our money, what we can spend it on, what's important to us. And I don't ever tell my clients any of that. Right. What I do is we start with the progress of where you are, and let's bring awareness to where your money is going. So the Wall of Wealth absolutely is my one-page financial plan. But what comes before that is peeling back the curtain and looking at where all of our expenses are going. It's a spending plan, right? We got to look at where our expenses are going, what's coming in, and what's going out. Right. And that can be a very difficult process. However, I'm here to help you. Okay. So just take it step by step. It may take you a couple of weeks, but put down every expense that you have. And I have the ultimate Wall of Wealth spending tracker. It's free. I'll give it to you for your audience. Yes. You can look at every single category and look at where all of your money is going. And every time I've done this with somebody, and I've sat down with clients who have lots of money, and I have sat down with clients who have smaller amounts of money or feeling like they're just getting started. And we always find some little alligator that is gobbling up your dollars that you're not aware of. It might be $10. It might be $50. I just helped somebody find about $300. And listen, she's on a smaller income.
Right.
So $300 is a big chunk of money for an average family. That can make the difference between putting food on the table and not putting food on the table.
Yes, yes. And I was going to say, as my advisor, and I have no shame in saying that, working with Leah, it has been phenomenal, because like I said, trying to assess what how you're spending. There are so many things that you don't think about. The one thing that, as I've been looking over my finances, because I'm still in that process myself, as I'm looking through mine, the biggest thing was those subscriptions. The subscriptions are a killer, because I did not realize how many little $1.99s and $5.99s and $10.99s. And by the time you calculate them all up, you're like, wait a minute. Why am I spending all this money on all of these things? And I didn't realize that I was doing it. Or you forget about ones that, come up at the last minute, you didn't remember, or was that 7-day trial and you just wanted one thing and then you forgot to go back and cancel that subscription. And next thing you know, you get hit with $45 or $100. You're like, what happened? Where's this money coming from? you forget about all of those things. And so when you talk about tracking, it's so important because you don't realize things that are coming out sometimes because they're so nominal, but by the time you add them up over the course of the month, it can be hundreds of dollars that you spent and didn't even realize that you're spending it. So I think about just like when you're talking about your physical wellness and writing down and tracking your food to know where you are, you definitely have to do that same thing with your finances so that you know where you are and you can see where you have to start trimming the fat, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. I love the way you frame that though, because it might be a 199 here or 599 there, and it might be dollars over a month, but how much is that over a year? You know, the average family doesn't have $400 in the event of an emergency. Think
Right.
about that. So our first goal doesn't have to be that we've got to have $10,000 saved, $1 million saved. Let's start at the beginning. Let's have a goal this year to have $400 cash put away for, some people call it an emergency. I like to think of it as an opportunity account, right? It might be for that car thing, or it might be for that refrigerator that is on the fritz, but maybe it is an opportunity. Maybe there's something that comes and shows its head, because when you start tracking your money, what will happen is through osmosis, you're going to start attracting different things. So maybe this opportunity comes for you to invest in something that you never anticipated. Maybe it's the money you need to squirrel away to start your business, to get your LLC. Maybe it's that money that you've never given to charity. Maybe it's your first opportunity to tithe and reach back into your community. I don't know what that is for you, but when you come up with that first $400 and you set that aside, it is outside. It's not on a credit card. It's not the money you get from your mortgage, to do a HELOC or something like that. This is cash that's put away outside of your checking account. And when you start to do that, you'll see the empowerment that comes over. I've watched it, the transformation. And that for me is the addiction. That's what I love to do. When I watch my clients literally transform, and Miss Kim, by the way, you have totally transformed. I mean, you've always been beautiful and sparkly. I'm not taking any credit from that. And I don't take any credit for that either, by the way. But what I'm saying is when we sat down in the beginning, it was kind of feeling heavy. And even though you're sparkly and glittery and positive and powerful, it was that little bit of a weight in the back of your mind I could see. And it's taken us a little while, but what do? We went step by step, right? Step by step. And then now we're making some big strides. But we have to start at the beginning. And so when we do that, you will feel more empowered. Imagine the feeling of having $400 squirreled away. Now that $400 becomes $4,000, becomes $40,000. I'm getting chills just thinking about this. What happens is I see in my mind my clients that I've done this with. It was first at few $100s, and now we're talking about much bigger numbers. Yeah. But again, I go back to all progress starts by telling the truth. And that's the part where people just think it's invisible. They think it's basic. Oh, that's so basic. I'm so beyond that. I own 5 rentals. I've got 10 credit cards. Yeah, okay, that's cute, but where's that money going?
Right.
Where's the money going?
Yeah, but I think just like you said, there's a level of fear. I think that there is a level of fear, and for me, I'll just speak, about myself. I was fearful of really sitting down and seeing where I was financially, because I was like, I don't think I'm going to like what I'm going to hear, and then what if I feel like I can't do anything about it? Or what if I feel like I'm stuck? And I think that's what happens. A lot of people feel stuck and they're scared and they're saying, no, because if I really sit down, but you got to know, because just like I said, if I don't know, then I can't begin that healing process. And that goes with any aspect of our wellness. If we're not willing to come to terms or to be able to, to say, this is what it is. This is what I'm experiencing. This is what's happening. And to be able to acknowledge it. If you can't acknowledge it, you cannot begin the healing process. So it's so critical.
Oh, say that again. That's so juicy. I want that to marinate. I want that to sink in.
Yes, you must. You have to be able to acknowledge things in order to heal. You cannot do that on a whim. If I didn't sit there and categorize and begin to outline my finances, I would never have really seen where I was, or the impact or the magnitude of my spending, what that meant to not just to me, but to my family as well, to the legacy that I'm leaving. That's something that's critical.
Yeah. I would humbly ask you to think back on our first appointment, because I remember it so vividly. I was actually at my daughter's house. I was working remotely that day. If you could think back to the feeling and share that with people, because this was a bit of a challenge, right? You had some things that you knew you needed to address. And so just share with a little bit of maybe your own feeling of first interlude that we had.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest question that I have, and I think that goes with anybody who is going to seek, assistance outside of their own, capabilities, is cost. The thing that resonated with me, I was like, oh my God, how am I going to be able to pay for this? How am I going to be able to do this? And how am I going to be able to, if I can't pay for my bills, if I'm struggling financially, how am I going to pay a financial advisor to be able to help me? That was my biggest fear. I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to be able to, because I don't have it. And so how am I, it was hard for me to wrap my brain around that. That was the top fear that I have. How am I going to be able to finance somebody helping me with this? And I had to go basic level, and then making sure, okay, not only is it me, it's my family, it's my husband, it's my daughter, it's my grandbaby. How am I going to be able to leave legacy for them? How am I going to be able to take the things that I've learned and teach them as well, or to bring them into the fold, so that way we're working as a family, and that we're building legacy together, and that, this is not something that I felt like I was just doing it by myself. And I was like, okay, I'm doing okay, and I'm paying for this, and I'm doing that, and I'm making sure I'm staying on top of things. But it wasn't just me, it was my family that was drowning with me. So we were all drowning together. And I was like, I can't get past the fear of how am I going to make these next steps when I feel like everything is already tight. So that was a concern for me. The biggest feeling that I had was that fear.
Yeah. And I remember that so clearly. I said, okay, remember, we're going to take it step by step. Okay.
Yes, you did. And you were phenomenal.
And here's the thing. The traditional industry will help us once we have money. If you got $500,000, anybody's going to help you. They're going to call you. They're going to find you on these databases. You're going to get wined and dined. They're going to offer you free movie tickets because you have money. But who helps us before we have anything, right?
Exactly.
Who helps get that little train started?
Yeah.
And for me, it's really my honor when I'm trusted with somebody. I have a lot of clients who have a lot of wealth, and that's wonderful and exciting. And those are really, really fun strategy sessions.
Yes.
But really the biggest honor for me has been the clients who save up their few dollars to get something started with me, which, by the way, it's super, super affordable. I've got a great special right now. So, and if you need some payment plan, listen, we can work it out. Don't let that stop you. Okay. Don't let that stop you, because if you have the heart to do better, then I want to help you. And I'm committed to you getting to that next level. Even if it's that first $400, maybe there's this one thing, that the student loan that's hanging around you, or maybe it is this creditor that is calling you and hounding you. You can't think straight when those kinds of things are constantly in the background. You can't be creative. Maybe you're an entrepreneur. Maybe you're a high achieving business owner. It is very difficult to bring your best you to the table when all of that noise is there constantly. You're afraid to answer the phone, but you're an entrepreneur and you make money by the phone. So what is that doing to you? That's constantly pulling at you. So when somebody says, listen, I want some help. This is messy. I like it when people kind of push papers across the table or across the Zoom and say, this is where it is. I don't even know what any of this is, because my mind works like a puzzle and I can automatically start seeing things coming together. I mean, we sat down, we had a good strategy session. It was like a brain dump, right? And I was writing, by hand, I was writing so fast, but I could automatically see where we were going.
Right.
Now, it took us some time, but look at the progress that you've made.
Yes.
I mean, think about the difference from then to now.
Yeah, I was going to say one of the biggest things was, I remember, and that was, when things started changing politically and they started talking about those student loans, I got hit upside the head because I wasn't prepared. I was still in the throes of trying to figure out how to, make these payments. And then you have so many people coming at you saying, oh, well, you can pay off your loan and you can pay this much and you can do that. And I'm going to always say this. You do business with people like, and trust. And I just didn't have anybody to trust. That was another issue too. Not only the fear, but being able to entrust what little I had with somebody who I knew was going to help me and not be another person that was going to scam me or take away. This world is filled with scammers and people who are trying to take your money. And so that was a big thing too, that was encapsulated in my fear. Do I know this person? Do I trust this person? Is this person going to take what little I do have and help me to maximize that, to help me move the needle towards financial fitness? Or are they going to take from me and I'm going to go further into the hole? That's a reality. It's a fear for a lot of people. And looking at watching my credit score plummet when they finally took those student loans out of deferment, plummeted. I mean, I heard the little Acme, little handle just fell. I was like, when I saw my score, it dropped like almost 250 points. Almost had a heart attack. And then it was like, oh, now what do I do? And now, after working with you and you presenting those things that were going to help me, those vehicles that were going to help me in the position where I was, that now I can say I'm back up and a little higher than I was when I started. And now I'm like, okay, now I'm back. I can breathe. And so it's just wonderful to be able to, like I said, do business with people like, and trust. It is so important that even in these beginning stages, that you do your homework, that as you're speaking to somebody. And the one thing that I love about you, Leah, is that you will, break things down. I can ask questions if there was a term that I was not familiar with, because, we get caught up sometimes in that legalese. People are talking about things and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I'm that researcher because, I was a person who worked on my doctorate. I know all about research. So I was big on researching and digging and reading and trying to understand a little bit. So even if you don't have the finances right away, at least start doing your homework on educating yourself with what certain terms mean. What is a trust? What is life insurance? What is a budget? What is a HELOC? What are all of these terms that I've never heard of in my life? And so if anything, start educating yourself so that as those terms come up, you can begin to understand the verbiage and be able to ask questions. You can't ask questions about things you don't know, And so it wasn't until I started really looking and analyzing and reading some of those things that I was in a position to be able to ask the questions that I needed to ask, so that way I can figure out how to move. So that was something that was
so
critical. And I absolutely love that you do that, you want somebody who you like, know, and trust, and who is going to really, give you some options that are tangible. That's going to be key.
Yeah, that's so good. And I kind of want to, I guess kind of rah-rah myself for a minute. This is why I give so much free content. I have a Money Minute that I post couple times a week. You can find me on YouTube. Like, if you don't know anything about finances, listen to the Money Minute, because I give financial literacy in bite-sized golden nuggets, like all those little terms, because I want people, I understand that these things can be very overwhelming. I understand there's a lot of concepts that people are not aware of and terms that feel intimidating. So if we can start looking towards that, and I can at least develop your ear to be tuned to it. Maybe I'm the right person for you, but maybe I'm not, and that's okay. But at least find somebody who is going to give you free content. And if that resonates with you, then maybe you can take the next step.
Yes, yes. And like I said, and to toot your horn, going along the bottom of the screen, you will see her contact information. And it says www.leahgarcia.io. And I hope I got that right.
You got it right.
Yes.
You got it right.
I had to make sure I went back and checked. And so that way, she has a beautiful website, by the way. We're just gonna throw that out there too. It's a beautiful, comprehensive website that has all of the things that you need to know, all things Leah Garcia, all things with her products and services. So make sure that you jot that down. It's always good when you're listening to podcasts or gathering information to always have a pen and paper nearby, because that's when you can write these things down, these wonderful nuggets that we've been dropping so far along the show. You want to be able to write those things down. I have a pen right here. I've got my paper right here. I've been writing some things down as Leah's been speaking, because it's so important for us to educate ourselves. That is part of your overall wellness, your mental wellness, learning and developing things, and not waiting for somebody to tell you how to do something, but to understand those things that are going on around you as well. So that way you can ask those follow-up questions. We don't know everything, but we can definitely get the terminology. Go on there, get that money minute and find out some things that you may not know. Be today years old about learning something about your financial fitness.
Yeah. And when we empower ourselves with the language and some of the nomenclature of the industry, what will happen is you will never be bamboozled. Like, I'm not here to sell somebody a product. And I hope that this is what you have experienced, is that I want to empower my clients so that you are aware and educated as we're going through the process. You know what you have, you know why you have it. And so if I fall off the face of the earth tomorrow, or God, the good Lord takes me upstairs, listen, you have some information so that nobody else will come behind me and say, teach you some, or try to sell you some bill of goods, right? You have some empowerment, you know some of the language, you understand the processes, and that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I 100% agree. It's all about being educated. It's all about knowing, and like I said, feeling, once you get that confidence, and that's with anything, once you get that level of confidence, then you can move forward. So for me, it's always been about those actionable items. I don't want to just have a meeting. And that's the one thing, that's the beauty of working with Leah as well. Like I said, we just going to toot your horn. I don't care. Because, the thing is, you want to make sure that, that at the end of your conversation, okay, what are some next steps? What are some things that I can do in the interim? Okay. And the reason why I bring this up is because certain things that we talk about, certain principles, they're going to overlap in all aspects of your overall wellness. I think about that even in my, in my physical health. I'm making sure that, what are some actionable items? If there's something that's going on in my body or something that's going on with me, and I go to the doctor, I don't want you to just give me a prescription. Tell me what I can do so that I don't have to take this medication anymore. What are some ways that I can eat? What are some things that I can do that are outside of this medication that are going to help me get in a better position? It's the same thing with your financial fitness. Just like you're talking about this tracker, I need to be able to go back to this. And that's something that that's a tool that I can continue to use, because if something gets out of whack, or if something gets added, because bills come up, life's right? Things happen. Your car breaks down, things happen. That may not have been something that was in your monthly budget. Now you have to add that in. Now I need to see how I'm going to go about doing that. So it's so important to track, so that way you can see where differences are. You can see where things drop off and where you have a little bit of a surplus. And now you can allocate those funds into different places. So that tracking tool is something that's critical.
Well, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just going to go allow you to keep on going, because I'm learning. I'm writing, taking notes here. You're dropping golden nuggets, dropping gold bars. I totally agree with you. And look at the difference in how you're moving and flowing and glowing. And I can't take credit for it. I had a little bit of that, but it's already in you. But being able to put those things aside, like the student loans, which many people have that. I meet doctors, lawyers. I meet people who took 5 different college,
I
trying
owe
to get
more than I
into,
owe on my house. I owe more than I owe on my house.
right?
My house will
So
be paid off before I pay before my student loans. I have 1 foot in the grave before my student loans are paid off.
I mean, that's the thing. So think about that, though. How many people are struggling with that? And there are a lot of scams out there when it comes to student loans. There
Yes.
really are. People will tell you you can get forgiveness. Listen, student loan forgiveness is very, very minimal amount of people will truly qualify for that. You need somebody who's going to really tell you the good, bad, and the ugly, because some of it is not pretty, some of it's not fun. But if you are struggling with student loans right now, really find somebody that you trust to really help you, and do some research on the company. Look at their Google reviews. Look at, are they on LinkedIn? Like, find out, are they really a real person? Maybe ask for some referrals, and then do some research on the referrals. Did they really have student loans? Did they really go through the process? That's really the key. And even in my industry, before I found the student loan company that I partner with, I talked to many, many people. I've been in this industry, in February will be 20 years. I have talked to many, many people who offer student loan stuff. It took me a long time to find somebody that I truly trust, that I've watched truly help my clients, that are telling them the real thing, the real information, which is changing all the time. So that's one of the biggest booby traps, I would say, is the student loans. People just think, well, I'm in forgiveness. Nothing's happening right now. Now they're starting to garnish wages. We got to get on top of that. So I give you a shout out on that too. You got proactive on that. You really did.
I did because I was scared. I was scared. I don't need anybody garnishing my wages under any circumstance for any reason ever, because that is a fear, liens on your home, things of that nature. It is something that is scary. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I had to plug in my computer because my battery.
Sorry.
Here we go. All right, we got a different view here. Oh, maybe this one's better. Anyway,
it's the beauty of live. We love that. We love that. It doesn't matter, Hey, my thing is,
don't panic. We pivot. We plug in that cord and we keep going.
I love it. I love it. But just like I'm saying, it's so important that we take action before it's too late. I don't want it to get to a place of garnishment before I'm saying, oh, well, I should have done something about it. I saw them, I saw the changes and I saw the letters coming. And that's the thing that's important too. Most of the time you're going to get some type of notification. Open your mail, open your emails. Do not wait until the last minute. How many people, have had eviction notices, and then next thing you know, they come home and all their stuff is on the lawn. You knew it was coming. And I just have to be, and that's where we have to be real with each other. We can't sugarcoat these things because we have been getting notification. We've been finding out, and we just say, and look, I'm guilty as charged, because those little U.S. Department of Education letters were coming, and I was like, yeah, okay, let me put this on the stack with the rest of them. Because every time I opened it, I was like, oh, yeah, all right, I know. Ooh, that's a lot. Okay, and I just put it down. I'm like, okay, but then you have to read it. Some of them may be like, warning, we about to garnish your wages, or you got another month, or the deadline is X, Y, and Z.
I absolutely love that. I love you.
Stuck. I was like, I was not going to get stuck. I can't have them garnish my wages. I need all of my money. I do, because I work for it and I need it all. I don't need anybody to take any of it, whether they think they deserve it or not.
No, oh my gosh. I just love you so much. You're so funny. You're like, open your mail. And you know what? All progress starts by telling the truth. It is difficult when you're in that kind of way. Listen, I have been there. I know that feeling. That's why it resonates with me, because I understand where that's like. Oh, I'm not going to open this up. I'm going to pretend like I didn't give it. I'm going to send it back to the return to sender. Listen, we've all been there. Okay. So I get it.
That's a problem. And then another thing that I know we definitely wanted to touch on is, again, health care, insurance. Those are things now that when we're talking about budgeting and we're talking about tracking our finances, that's something that sooner rather than later we're going to have to start dancing with, because a lot of things are not being covered by insurance, and you don't want to be in a position where you cannot get the treatments that you deserve because you have to decide whether we're going to eat this week or I'm going to have this MRI done or things like that. People who know me know that I have spinal stenosis. My insurance is not always 100% the best, and there have been times I've had to make the decision not to have a medical procedure done because I just simply could not afford it, and the medical and my insurance would not cover it. So we don't want to be in a position where we have to, make a decision, regarding our health and not doing something or not having a procedure done because we can't afford it, because we haven't, because we don't have the finances placed to the side to do it. So we have to start looking at that as a reality as well.
Yeah, for sure. We got to open our mail because, by the way, your rate increase has come out to you and it's painful. I've been seeing clients who their premiums have doubled, tripled, quadrupled. And so there are some things. I want to share 5 things you can do if you're the person who has received that notice and now that health insurance plan that you're going through the marketplace, you're receiving those tax credits and subsidies, is no longer affordable. So there's a few things you could do. Number 1, look at your income and see and determine if you qualify for Medicaid or Medi-Cal. If you're in California, we call it Medi-Cal. If you're in the rest of the country, I'm pretty sure everybody else calls that Medicaid. And those are essentially free health plans. Some will go on a sliding scale. So you might qualify at this point for that program. It takes a little bit of elbow grease, but it is worth it. So that may be a solution. Number 2 is if you're currently going through or experiencing a health crisis right now, so you've got cancer, maybe something like that, and you need ongoing treatments, and now your health insurance has become unaffordable or the deductible is really high, I want you to think about and research some of these clinics and hospitals. They have sliding scale programs. They have, a lot of times they have a pay-as-you-go program. They have a lot of donors that contribute, and so they may have some type of a scholarship program for you. So don't ever forego or think that you can't get this life-saving treatment if you don't have insurance. Number 3 is raise your deductible and add supplements. This is something I do all the time. So look at getting like a high deductible plan, adding in those supplements, things like critical illness, chronic illness, accident plan, so that if something major happens to you or you have a major diagnosis, you can have access to the doctors and hospitals that you need. So I've done that for a lot of my clients. We're able to reduce their premiums by half or sometimes even more. So that could be some other option. And then the other one is open up an HSA account. Get an HSA compatible plan, which is going to be a high deductible plan. You do have to find them. They do have to say HSA on that, HSA compatible. But if you open up an HSA compatible health plan, then you can open up an HSA account. And what that is you can put up to, I believe it's like $4,500 a year individual, up to about $8,000 for a family. And those are tax-free dollars that you can use to pay your deductibles, co-pays, dental, vision, Band-Aids, all kinds of things. There's a whole laundry list on the irs.gov. And number 5, and this was my favorite. This is absolutely my favorite. This is what I do. And this is what I teach all of my clients to do if you're in relatively good health. This is a secret, is get a medical cost sharing plan and again, add the supplements. Medical cost sharing plans have been around over 40 years. There's quite a few of them. I'm happy to direct you to the one that I use. It is a national program. It's a go anywhere. But those costs, even with adding the supplement, and I'm talking about having a low out of pocket, like $1,000 out of pocket, and adding those accident plans, the critical illness, chronic illness, I'm able to really cut those premiums in half or even more sometimes. So if you're in relatively good health, a medical cost sharing plan might be the option. So those are some things that people can do, some strategies that they can take. And really, it takes some time. Okay. You got to open your mail. I'm going to steal that from you. You got to open your mail, look into see what that insurance premium is going to be. And then you're going to make some phone calls. Do I qualify for the Medicaid program? Can I get on a sliding scale plan with the hospital with the treatments that I need? Or maybe I open up that HSA. Maybe I go off the exchange. See, we have been kind of bamboozled to think that the marketplace is the only place to get insurance. It is not.
No.
I've been in the industry now 20 years. Back in the dinosaur age, there was no marketplace and we still got insurance. Okay, so places that you can go that
phase out, right?
The traditional industry that you can get access to the doctors and hospitals when you need it the most. So I'm hoping that helps.
Yes. And I was going to say, and it's also important that you still continue with your health. I had a pre-existing condition, with my type 2 diabetes, but I really worked hard to keep it under control and have gotten it to a place. And that's going to be critical in the decisions that they make with some of these insurance companies, with some of the things that you're trying to, with any of the programs that you're trying to do. They want to know if you have any pre-existing conditions. Don't just lean on that. Start doing something to reverse if some of those pre-existing conditions are reversible, start working towards that. That's something that you can do that's going to help to bring your deductibles down, that are going to help to do those things. Take care of yourself. Start taking care of yourself. You may not have the money to do that right now, but you can definitely start picking up a dumbbell, taking an extra 30 minutes to walk. What are some things that you can do to diminish some of those costs on those pre-existing conditions? We have to start taking care of our bodies. That's what I'm talking about. There's so many things that overlap and that stack on top of each other, that we're talking about finances here. But at the same time, in talking about financial fitness, again, we default back to our physical fitness, because that's going to determine our finances and how much of our money is going to be spent in medical costs for those pre-existing conditions. See what I'm saying?
That is a gold. Look at that's all kinds of gold nuggets, gold bars, gold gems. If you missed that, rewind it. If you watched it live, go back and listen to that again, because that was absolutely fire. You are so on point. We got to start looking at our true health. People think it's no big deal. Listen, if you want to know how good your health is, this is what you do. Go and apply for life insurance. And I mean a fully underwritten life insurance, not one of these click and they approve you in 10 minutes. Because here's the thing. If they're the click and approve you in 10 minutes, they can also decline that. Remember, there's a 2-year contestability period. Wow. So even if they approve you, that is a superficial, many times superficial approval. It has to be a fully underwritten policy. And if it's a fully underwritten policy and you get rated up, you get declined, that's going to tell you how good your health is. Everybody says they're healthy. We all look good on the outside. Listen, we can powder it up and, I had to pull my hair down today. Listen, we can do all these things to look good on the outside, but it's what really is going on the inside. Remember, we said it at the beginning, all progress starts by telling the truth. Go apply for life insurance and you're going to know how good your health is. They're going to tell you it was super preferred, it was preferred, it was standard plus, or they're going to say, we're going to give you a table rating. If you hear that word table rating, you know your health is not as good as you think it might be.
Right. But that it can change, and that's the thing, it can change. It can change, when you're doing that. If your health improves, or if you're doing things that are going to put you in a different health quote unquote bracket, do those things. What are things you can do? If you're taking care of yourself, you're going to make less trips to the doctor, so you're making less co-pays and things of that nature. It's like, come on, we have to really stop and think about the importance of how all of these things overlap. I love these 5 things, and we'll make sure that we definitely, do a little sheet that has those on there, so that way when people go back and watch the show.
Oh yeah, I'll give that to you. I have a little free ebook. I'll give that to you. That is really critical is that we start taking charge of our health, because if we're not in good health, then our options are very limited. And I just don't mean about life insurance or health insurance. Our options are limited. Maybe you love to travel, but now you can't travel because of your health.
Right.
Maybe you have a beautiful, precious 7-year-old grandson like I do, my precious grandson, and he loves to run around on the beach, but now you can't go and run around on the beach with him and enjoy those memories. Listen, we have got to look towards our health.
Yes.
That is the foundation of our prosperity, and it's a foundation of what you started this show on, Miss Kim, and you are
Yes.
so on point. And there's some basic things you can do.
That's it. I know we
Really, it
definitely.
doesn't mean that you're in a gym and maybe you can't afford some of these nutrition plans and all that, but you can do something.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like you said, it starts with that financial tracking. It starts with those first steps. Take the first step. The first step is financial. See where you are. Even if you're like, well, Kim, Leah, I don't have the money right now. I can't. I just can't see I'm going to be able to do it. Do the tracking first. It doesn't cost you anything to find out where you are. How do you know what your options are if you can't even tell somebody where you are? How can I come pick you up if I don't know where you're at? What are you gonna tell me? You're between two trees and a tuft of grass? I don't know where that is. You have to tell me where you are. So
Oh my gosh,
I'm trying to come get y'all.
I just love you. I just love you. You're right. If you want to know how to get somewhere, we got to first find out where you are. So it starts with finding out where you are, the good, the bad, the ugly. It might feel a little painful, but then it also might be like a treasure hunt.
Yeah.
It may be that there is money there that you're not aware of. Maybe you're spending something on something that you're not even aware. Maybe you're double covered. Maybe there's those little alligators that are coming out. Maybe you have some missing money. Go on my website, missing money. It is free. You may have some missing money. Maybe somebody's trying to give you a check. I've had people tell me they found thousands of dollars. I myself, I check that every couple of years, and I just found like another $50. Listen, it is there for you. We'll take it, right? It is free, which is one of my favorite F words. You got to get the free stuff. You got to get those things. That's how we start, right? Finding that missing money, looking at our good health, tracking where we are, tracking our food, like being aware, just being aware. We are so like sheep.
Tunnel vision.
If we're tunnel vision, we are hypnotized by social media. We're hypnotized by television. Listen, we're all just kind of, no, we gotta wake up. We got to wake up and look at what we're really doing. And that's when you can start from where you are. Mm-hmm. And then you can start to look back from where you are. And in 6 months, a year, 5 years, you're going to look back and go, wow, look at all the progress I made.
That's it. I was going to say, I just today, I purchased a car recently and had to have, it was a used car and had to have some work done on it. And I happened to be talking to the person who I purchased the car from, but I also had bought a warranty. Forgot about that. And so I had something done and he was like, that's covered under the warranty, right? He was like, let me go ahead and put that. He said, you have the receipt. I had the receipt in my car because I just had the work done a couple of days ago. Mm-hmm. And he was like, hey, let me go ahead and put in this claim so that way you can get reimbursed for the money that you spent on that part. That was covered under insurance. So sometimes we sign up for things and then I didn't even remember. I was so busy worried about the large payment that I made to get the car that I forgot about the little payment that I made for the warranty that covered the parts. And I was like, I didn't even think. But that's also a thing where you have to make sure, open your mouth. Open your mail and open your mouth. Because sometimes if you don't ask the questions, you don't know the answer. I'm quick to, hey, so let me just run this by you. Oh, well, I know I just bought this car for you, but guess what? I had to go and get X, Y, and Z done. And that's how the conversation came up. And that's how he was like, oh, wait, you're covered with it. And I was like, I would not have remembered to look. It was too new. I just got the car less than a month ago. So I didn't even remember. Yes, I have all the paperwork. Yes, I have it in that beautiful folder. Yes, I have it filed away, but I needed to read it again. I read it when I signed it and thought, oh, it was a great idea, but I never thought I had to use it that soon, so I didn't remember. But that's why it's so important. Read your mail, open your mouth, and ask the questions. Ask the question.
Well, and think about that.
Yeah.
That was hundreds of dollars.
Hundreds of, and he's going to put it in, and I'm going to get some of that money back. Hooray. Yeah. Who doesn't want money back? So when you were talking about missing money, I just thought about that and was like, right here. I would have just thrown that money away. It's like I would have just stood there and said, just blow it, just take it. You know, I don't care if it's a quarter. I want my quarter back. That's why I don't gamble, because I need my money back. I need a return on my investment. I'm putting a quarter in that slot machine. I want my quarter back, and if I don't want to play.
There you go. Oh my God. I could talk to you all day. You're so funny. You just crack me up all the time. But you tell so much truth to it, though. It is absolutely true, because what we do with a little, we will do with a lot.
Yes.
Listen, if we are not being responsible and good stewards of our money when we don't have money, we will be irresponsible, and we won't be good with our money when we have money. How many times do we hear the stories of someone inherited a fortune? Do you know that every inheritance, it's like 90% of inheritances are gone, squandered in less than just a couple of years. And I don't mean if it's like 50,000 or 50 million. It doesn't matter the number. It's because why? They have not told the truth. They have not learned some tools. They haven't put some systems in place. They're not prepared for it. What you do with a little, you will do with a lot. So if you only have $1 to invest, then you invest that $1. Right? You put that away. You start with that penny, the power of the penny. Listen, they're not even going to make pennies anymore, because now they're costing 2 or 3 cents. But if you start looking through your pennies and you put one aside, listen, God knows your intention.
Yes.
It is, you are investing in yourself. You're saying that I'm valuable. We talk about it all the time. We're a child of God. We're powerful. We're kings and queens. However, we don't put any money into ourselves. We don't put anything in to pay ourselves. If it's that 1 penny, you put that 1 penny aside. If it's at $5, you put that $5 aside. And what will happen is that intention will grow. You're going to do that 1 penny today, but tomorrow it may be $5. Next year, it may be $50. Maybe it's $100. Remember, we got to get to that first 400 and watch what happens, how you feel so different about yourself when you start to look towards your money.
Oh my gosh. You know, like you said, we can go on and on and on. I absolutely love the nuggets that you've dropped. This is just such a wonderful way to start off our year, talking about financial tracking, talking about the importance of understanding where we are so that we know where we're going. You know, as we're going to be going through these months of 2026, there are going to be so many things that we're going to be touching on that are going to help to strengthen and to educate people as they're learning to embrace that financial fitness and get in that position where, like you said, they can make some choices, and that those choices don't have to be made, based on whether they have the finances or not, but how they're going to go about doing it, because the finances will be there. You know, but like you said, it starts with taking that step.
Yeah, and this was just the prequel. Okay, we're going to go deep. We're going to tell you the good, bad, and the ugly. Remember, I take off the gloves. I'm going to pull back the curtains. I'm going to tell you the real deal, because there are so many people who are financial. I call them pretenders. They're on TV. They're TV personalities. They are all over the internet, but they're not licensed.
Right.
So I'm going to tell you the real deal of what is going on behind the curtain with our money. We need to understand the rules of the game. We're playing money checkers, most of us. We're making some money to spend some money. We're making some money to pay some money. We're making some money to give it to Uncle Sam. We got to start playing money chess. And that starts by tracking where we are and really understanding some fundamental rules.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I couldn't have said it better. That's why you're here. And that's why we're glad you're here and that you're going to be here with us through 2026, helping us to get that financial fitness that we need. Again, her website is going across the bottom of the screen, www.leahgarcia.io. And we're going to be sharing that financial fitness tracker with you all, and these 5 things that you can do with regards to, insurance and some things that you can look into. It's all about education. So again, Leah, thank you for being here. Look forward to having you month after month. So like I said, get used to seeing this beautiful face because she's going to be here talking about that financial fitness. Okay. And so with that, I'm going to say, make sure that you go to my website, www.hownowpodcast.com. Make sure that you like, follow, share, and subscribe so that way you always know what's happening in the now. And that'll do it for this edition of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. And until I see you all the next time, we say peace.